Welcome to the Catholic Table Talk podcast. This is where everything Catholic is on the table. New episodes Thursdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on most podcast platforms. Here's your host, William Sauber.
Thank you, Bill. Again, Bill Schneider does the intro to the show, also does the conclusion of the show every week that you hear. Bill Schneider, shout out to Patchwork Work Ministry. Again, it's Patchwork Work Ministry. They're not sponsoring today's show. I'm just giving them a shout to Bill Schneider. Also, today's episode is again Dr. George Saguma. Dr. George Saguma is a family physician who practices holistic health and healing. Find more at drgeorge.com. Thank you, Dr. George, for sponsoring a full year worth of episodes. Of course, find out about sponsoring an episode or the show or becoming a partner at CatholicTableTalk.com, emailing us at CatholicTT@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, and share the show as well. So today we're going to talk about the uptick and the importance of Catholic men protecting Catholic churches during Mass, and even maybe outside of Mass, and then how a group is going around and teaching them that. This is an article from National Catholic Register from WTN. And I mean, again, this is only, when this episode comes out, it's only a week after the tragedy in Minnesota, Minneapolis, and Annunciation School and Church. So again, and then we're going to talk about another article in the local magazine, Catholic Magazine, about the aftermath of it. So again, we're gonna do a show on the tragedy probably sometime down the road. I'm not sure what kind of Catholic response to it, which I mean, again, a lot of people have already done it. But again, we're just today we're gonna talk about just the importance of men protecting church, and I'll share this with you again because I didn't share it once and not twice on the show way, and I think it was from Catholic Talk Radio. I can't remember what program I was listening to, but basically, I can't remember what year this was in. But I believe there was ushers, a couple of men in one church someplace, had conceal and carry, which basically, if you don't know what that means, it's you can carry guns along with you because that's your right, right? I mean, you have the Second Amendment, so you know you can that's okay in some states as long as the state's okay with that. And they looked out in the parking lot and they saw this guy walking in with a big gun or something, like he was going to shoot the place up. So they took him out. They actually kind of fired back and they you know, what do you call it? I always blank on words, but and then the tragedy didn't happen. They took out the tragedy. Let's put it that way. They took the guy out um, before he made it into the church. So again, this is very important and really, I mean, this could be for women leader too, right? But any Catholic men up there really kind of step up on your parish and really be helping with security measures before, during, and after Mass, like even during the day, because like we talked about last week, the quorum in Catholic churches are on the rise, how and our religions as well, how people go in and destroy the church when the church is open there one day and there's no one there praying or no one there. So that and much more. So again, we'll start off with these great group. From doorkeepers to defenders, Catholic men step up to guard parishes from the National Catholic Register. An absolute rooting in ancient church tradition and training Catholic men today to protect parishes and parishioners. Let's be realistic, right? Not every wisher can defend him or herself. Some might, depending on their age, their athleticism, their willingness to fight, the location, whatever, right? But mostly not everyone is, right? Because you're not looking at what's behind you, you're looking at the mass. Do Catholic churches need to provide more security? The question is on many minds after the aftermath of a mass shooting of school children during mass at Parish Church in Minneapolis, last Wednesday, August in 2025. One group in Arizona has been training Catholic men to provide security for their parishes for about 5 years. Unfortunately, today is an example of why it's needed. Said Brian Eaton, the founder of Porters of St. Joseph, an absolute of volunteering men who, according to its website, seek to imitate St. Joseph as the protector of the Holy Church, pillar of families and terror of demons. We don't live in the world that I grew up in. That world has gone away. The church is always changing and adapting to the challenges spiritually and physically at any moment in time, Eaton told the restaurant in a telephone interview. Eaton, who is 45, police officer in Arizona, said he was surprised when he entered the Catholic Church in June of 2020 how little security was. Now, that's a police officer who became Catholic, and he was surprised of how low security was. That kind of says something. When he was an evangelical Christian, he used his experience in the U.S. Army and law enforcement to assist in providing security for his church, something he said is common among other religious groups. And they don't really have as much, I would say, valuables as we do. I mean, we have all the great the chalices and all. I mean, everything is. The Catholic churches are so much more what do you call it? Not decorative, but they're just more, so much more valuable stuff in it. Like you got gold, you got silver, you got all these windows and all this art and all these statues and not to mention what Satanists love is the real presence. As law enforcement professional, the Catholic Church is light years behind other faith communities as far as protecting our parishes. While security at Catholic churches varies, it isn't a priority in most parishes. Catholic schools across the country routinely want to lock down drills, and some have security officers on hand. But that isn't the case at most Catholic churches during Mass and all other church events. Also, Mocha, a board member of Porters of St. Joseph, said that his decades of church going, he has occasionally seen ushers providing some sort of order or armed members of law enforcement or other parishioners who happen to be attending Mass, or members of a local council of the Knights of Columbus providing a formal-looking presence. Other than that, nothing at all, said Mocha, a retired attorney who lives in Arizona. Is a problem, and it's regrettable that we have to address it. But we do. Shootings at Catholic masses in the United States are rare. The last one that resulted in death took place more than 2 decades ago, but less serious incidents are more common. Many dioceses have developed their own security protocols, often in partnership with local law enforcement or using guidance from Catholic risk management groups such as Catholic Mutual. Several dioceses, such as Fort Worth and Dallas, train parishioners and volunteer security teams. Some parishes elsewhere have hired security guards or work with local police to patrol during services. Because, I mean, again, even just having a policeman or walk past your church a couple times an hour, it makes it feel a little bit more safe. The mass shooting in Minneapolis highlights the vulnerability of Catholic churches. According to authorities, the 23-year-old who identified as a woman, but who was a man, transgender, was able to drive up to the church, park, get out with a rifle. A rifle? I mean, okay, it's Minneapolis. I mean, stuff like that happens all the time. It's not uncommon. Same with a lot of cities across the country and across the world. A shotgun and a pistol walked to the side of the church and fired dozens of rounds through the church windows, killing 2 children and wounding 14 others, 14, 18, I think it was more 18. Other children plus, yeah, 3 adults. There you go. The attack took about 2 minutes. The gunman then shot himself to death. Thomas Mishborg, founder and president of Critical Incident Management, INC, a company in Grand Haven, Michigan, that provides security plans for religious groups and schools, among clients, said Catholic bishops ought to consider implementing uniform security standards for churches in their diocese, including locking the doors of the church after the forced reading begins, with ushers trained to size up latecomers before letting them in, and installing, first, before I continue, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna be late to mass, like after the forced reading, I mean, and I'm, you know, that's how, I saw it, so I got like two things in my mind. First of all, again, if you're late to mass after the forced reading, you should probably shouldn't show up to mass, right? You should probably go to another mass if you can. Um, and you should, you shouldn't attend that mass because if you walk in, that's actually a mortal sin because you're basically showing up like a third of the way through mass almost. So, I mean, I, I know a lot of people who would love to do that. I mean, most people would. So, yeah, if you can't show up in time, unless something drastically happens, and oh well, but still, you probably shouldn't show up. That's a great plan. And second, I mean, that really helps the usher size up who people are. I mean, if it's a family walking in, no, you probably let them in. Again, you shouldn't show up to mass that late, even if you have car trouble or something. But if it's one person with a rifle or a shotgun or a pistol or something, well, then they can see that. Installing a film on windows that would stop bullets from a handgun from penetrating at least, or and at least slow down the velocity of bullets fired by a rifle. I think the church needs to look at it, have a plan in place. If something does happen, what do we do? What do we respond with? I hope this is a characteristic for somebody taking this kind of training on. Ushers ought to be trained to immediately direct churchgoers where to go and what to do in the event of an attack, he said. It's all about having a plan of action, mentally rehearsing what you're doing, Ms. Ward said. This is what law enforcement, fire, and military use for survival. They always got a plan. If this happens, what do I do next? It's like baseball. I'm gonna add this. It's like baseball. What's I tell, I haven't really told, my players this when I'm coaching, but this is true and this is what I want. I mean, once you start thinking about the game or thinking about what to do next, you start playing this game. You kind of give up. You're not in the game. So, like, if the guy's on force and you're playing third base, like, when gets hit to you, you don't have enough time to keep the ball and looking like, what do I do with this? You gotta know, look to second for a double play shot. So if not, maybe go to fourth if that's the only shot. So again, you always have to know. And actually, I don't know how many people know this, but with the Minneapolis shooting, those kids knew what to do. They were actually trained on that. Because kids were jumping on, most schools were jumping on the young classmen under them, like kingoers and those guys, to help protect them. They all got down. That's why majority of the kids who were, two were killed. I think they were both middle school, at least the one was. And and those who were injured were out of middle school because they basically knew they had the drill down. They got all the young kids under the pews. They lay on top of them, and then they got hit. So again, they know what to do, and ushers and other people should know as well. Mix Boyd, a lifelong Catholic and former longtime member of the Michigan State Police SWAT team, who works with two Catholic parishes in Michigan, told the registrar that ushers can provide an important layer of security if they are trained to spot trouble before it occurs and deal with it. He said he understands that the Catholic Church is meant to be open to all comers and that too much security can get in the way of that. I understand the goal of the church is to be welcoming and all, but I sort of work in the background with being too over it to scare people away, he said. So just a little bit last finishing up the article. The summer he became a Catholic Eton, going back to Eton, seeing a need to be filled in his newfound church, founded the Porters of St. Joseph, which combines spiritual practices including prayer and fasting, with practical training to prevent incidents and respond if they occur. A portor, or doorkeeper, was one of the minor holy orders in the early church. According to the Catholic Ecclesiopia of 1912, Saint Romanus Ortus, I'm saying that saint's name wrong, the surname means porter, which was baptized by the Roman deacon Saint Lawrence and marked with him in 258. Molko, one of the first members to join the organization, said Porters of St. Joseph includes a serious approach to prayer. Members of Porters of St. Joseph and his parish, Immaculate Conception in Cottonwood, led the rosary before the 5:30 p.m. Mass on the second Wednesday of the month. Some make an act of consecration to St. Joseph along his solemnity on March 19th or near the feast of St. Joseph on Walker on May 1st. It's more than a group of security guys, and that's the thing that I have to emphasize. It's really got strong spiritual component to it. It's a men's fellowship, Moker said. We are protectors of the family, protectors of women, and children and priests. So you can start that at your parish. I mean, I know you might have Exodus 90 Knights of Columbus, but there's always something else you can maybe join or start up and, get into it at the church. You could do all of them, you could just do one of them, you could do a couple of them, but something to really think about going to the church for sure. Eaton sees this organization as a call to a authentic Catholic mentality. We need to return to a spiritual heritage of men. We are first and foremost standing as guardians to our families and communities. That extends to the physical world we live in, Eaton said. It's not acceptable as Catholic men of faith to stand by and do nothing, he said. Today, Porters of St. Joseph are in 17 parishes in Arizona and have about 300 members. The men undergo training in isolation, active shooter response, and basic first aid, as well as stress involution. So in case of stressful emergency, they are familiar with how it feels. They also provide emergency care, basic emergency care, including the defibrillators in the event of a cardiac emergency. Members don't divulge certain details of their operations in order to keep security proposition private, of course. But one approach is to station a man at the main entrance of a church to greet people, which enables him to size up people as they come in and sends the message that there is a security presence in the building. Asked if members are armed, Eaton declined to comment. In some parishes, members wear a black polo shirt, with the portraits of St. Joseph's Ministry logo and the word security on it, and others they wear plain clothes just by simply being there. It detours a lot of people. Joey Gonzalez, also a member and board member, he said volunteers provide security to their families and parishioners can focus on the message of God without having to worry about what's going on around them. It doesn't matter what neighborhood you're in anymore. The risks and the threats are there. Our objective is to protect our parishioners and the Eucharist and our priests so that they can serve. Would such a presence have made a difference to on the 8:15 Mass on Wednesday at the Annunciation in Minneapolis? I don't know enough about this particular situation inside where what I do know is that we have intercepted incidents with our parishioners. At least 4 times, members of the Portraits of St. Joseph have dealt with the people who wish the outdoor during Mass. Eating said, and in that incident, a security volunteer stopped a man who was trying to bring a gun into church. Another time, he said, a man sitting near the back of the artist grumbled to himself during a pro-life talk, produced a large knife and started swinging it. A security member hustled him out of the event. Eaton noted that police and firefighters are often at least 5 minutes away when called to emergency. A lot can happen in 5 minutes, Eaton said. Remember, the church shooting in Minneapolis only took 2. We need to be intermediate responders. What the program does, it trains the men of all parishes to make an impactful difference. If something would to happen, he said, end quote. So again, I look it up on the show links below. You can look at that. So let me share that here. Share the screen. So again, this is a Catholic live story. Nation reels that Catholic school shooting in Minneapolis leaves 2 dead, 18 injured. I mean, I have to say through a lot of it. While there were a range of injuries among the injured children, they are all expected to survive. In an August 28th interview on the Today Show, O'Hara said that the church doors were locked from school mass, and a move that likely saved countless lives. So again, I think that is huge. I mean, again, it kind of it's not really inviting it. If about 10 minutes in, the doors are going to be locked, but I mean that has the ability to save lives. The suspect shooter is a 23-year-old Nicholas Wallen Westman, who formerly went by Robert, had previously attended the school, and his mother had formerly been an employee of the school. Court documents filed in Decoy County, which is a little south of the Twin Cities, accessed by the Honest Sunday Visitor News on August 27th, indicate that Westman identifies as a female and petitioned to formally undergo a name change to reflect their identity. That request was granted on January 15th, 2020. Of course, the diary material attributed to Westman indicates he was deeply conflicting with his sexual identity and was tired of identifying as a transgressor. Transgression. Well, he was tired of being a transgender. He didn't feel like he wanted to be brainwashed. He didn't like being brainwashed by people pushing it, but was wary of making sudden behavior change lest it get him reported. The same material shows Westman harbored deep hate toward a wide array of ethical, racial, and religious groups and allied school shooters. His plans appear to have been a barricade all have been to barricade all but one of the church exterior doors to trap mass goers and enter the church to carry out mass slaughter. O'Hara and Sam Westman ended up shooting through the windows only because he found the church doors away locked. Of course, there was a forced week of the school, one of the forced week of school. Students were attending the out-school mass at 8:15. Westman began firing the students just after the response royal psalm that they were about to sing the gospel Alleluia. Authorities were alerted at 8:27. The mass school shooting at Annunciation appears to be a first of its kind involving a Catholic school in the modern era of school shootings that began with the 1999 Columbia High School massacre in Littleton, Colorado. Dr. Thomas Wyatt, a chair of emergency medicine at Hampton County Medical Center, a level 1 trauma center in downtown Minneapolis, also provided reports and update on victim status. He said 11 patients were taken to the HCMC, among them 2 adults and 9 children. Father Eric Wharton, pastor of nearby St. Thomas the Apostle Parish, arrived on scene quickly that morning to pray with and comfort distraught and grieving parents of the school. The priest told NBC News that the parents were in great anxiety and grief, with some wailing and crying, some swooping to the ground. He told the news outlet that he hugged those he recognized, several of them joined in as he prayed the rosary. Bishop Kevin T. Terry, an auxiliary bishop of St. Paul, Minneapolis, who grew up attending Annunciation Parish, was from downtown Minneapolis Parish, where he serves as pastor to Hampton Medical Center to comfort families. He told ABC's affiliate, a local Channel 5 in Minnesota, it's unbelievable this could happen still today. It's very sad for the community, for the families, and very sad for the families who have lost loved ones. You can read the whole article on the show notes as well. Kristen Noem, Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, said on X that DHS is monitoring the shooting at the school in Minneapolis, and they're communication with the partners and agency partners. And she is praying for all the victims of the attack and their families. Bishops and Catholic leaders across the country have issued their condolences and offered prayers in solidarity with the Church in Minnesota. As a church, we are following the tragic news from Annunciation School in Minneapolis with heartbreaking sadness. Archbishop William E. Lowy, Vice President of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, in a statement, whenever one part of the body of Christ is wounded, we feel the pain as if it was our very own children. Let us all beg the Lord for the protection and healing of the entire Annunciation family. Pope Leo also offered prayers, according to a message to Archbishop Reinhard H. Henda of St. Paul and Minneapolis. Great Archbishop, by the way. So blessed and happy to have Archbishop Henda, Hebda, I believe I'm saying that right, out of St. Paul and Minneapolis. So talk to him. He's just really he's just an awesome man for the Lord. From Cardinal Hannon from the Vatican Secretary of State, His Holiness Pope Leo was profoundly saddened to learn of the loss of life and injuries following the mass shooting that took place at the Annunciation Church in Minneapolis, and he sent his heartfelt condolences and the shorts of spiritual closest to all those affected by this terrible tragedy, especially the families now grieving the loss of children, he wrote. In a statement, Archbishop Libeda said he was grateful for prayers and asked that they continue. He said, quote, I beg for continued prayers of all the priests and the faithful of this archdiocese, as well as for the prayers of all men and women of goodwill, that the healing that only God can bring will be poured out on all those who were present at this morning's Mass, and particularly for the afflicted families who are now only beginning to comprehend the trauma they sustained, he said. My heart is broken as I think about students, teachers, clergy, and parishioners, and the horror they witness in the church. A place where we should feel safe, he said. He noted as well, the shooting at the United Station happened only one day after another shooting in South Minneapolis, at Crystal Way Jesuit High School, where one person was killed and 6 were injured. And finally, a couple of them, Bishop Barron, as many of you have known, also the Bishop of Diocese of St. Cloud, Patrick Neely. We'll get those 2 thoughts and then we'll wrap up the show. Robert Barron, Bishop Barron, asked for prayers on X. Friends, this morning there was a shooting at Annunciation Catholic Parish in Minneapolis. Please join me in praying for all those who were injured or lost their lives, along with the families. He wrote, let us also pray for the students, faculty, and entire parish community. Bishop Patrick Neely of St. Cloud Diocese. Today, our hearts were shattered by the horrific act of violence that occurred at Annunciation Catholic Church and School in Minneapolis. Children were gathered for Mass. Teachers were beginning a new school year. Families were entrusting their loved ones to the care of the church. He said in a statement, I grieve deeply with the families, students, staff, parishioners of Annunciation. I grieve with our neighbors and the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and I grieve with every person who now carries the trauma of senselessness, violence. As Catholics, we believe in the dignity of every human life. That dignity is destroyed when violence becomes routine. He's continued, may Christ, Prince of Peace, bring healing to all who are wounded, and may allay ourselves as a safe for us in a time of grief. This is from Maria Wang, is a senior writer for our Sunday News magazine. So again, read them all down below. So again, just a little bit of update, but also just kind of what happened. But again, we might get some more reaction to it later down the show. But again, just quick overview. Really step up at churchmen, and help out for securing the place. Talk to your pastor, talk to people about it, not to have fear, but really to help make it more safe and help protect those around you, because again, we're all one body of Christ, and we gotta make sure we're all protected and we're all helping each other out in church and that. So yeah, we'll have links down below. Thank you again for joining us here on Catholic Table Talk. Hopefully see you next week, God willing. Same time, same place. Also, hey, check us out on our website, CatholicTableTalk.com. Again, we have everything you need to know about the show on there, CatholicTableTalk.com. See you next week. Stay safe. Grace, go aside.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Catholic Table Talk podcast, where everything Catholic is on the table. Don't forget to subscribe to Catholic Table Talk on your favorite podcast platform to get new episodes delivered directly to you every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern.